What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Knocked down. Oh, he caught it! Oh, unbelievable! This is amazing. So you played in the NFL. What's longer, a half or 5/8? Or 5/8 is a little longer there, Joe.
Your team is now on the clock. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining us. It is March 20th, 2020. I'm your host, Justin, and as always, I'm joined by Perry.
And Justin, of all your beautiful curves, your smile is my favorite.
I feel like you just called me fat.
No, I called you beautiful.
Also that. I'm big, beautiful, and confident.
Man, if you're big, I'm gigantic. So
This is going somewhere I don't know if we want it to.
I know. Maybe we should start over. No, let's just go with it. People love it.
Yeah, we're going to roll with it. With
yeah,
our
people
curves.
love this.
Curves roll nicely.
God.
So, obviously we have the obvious going on.
Yeah.
So what's new with you, Perry?
Yeah. Before we get too far into this, clearly everybody's dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak right now. It's affecting me. It's affecting Justin, both at home and at work. Like, we're well aware. I think the most important thing is just follow the rules, do your best not to spread it, keep your distance, and try and keep your mind off of it, to be completely honest. Justin and I are going to use this podcast, the research we do for it and that sort of thing, to stay positive and just focus on other things. And we recommend that you guys do the same. Share the podcast with your friends. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about fun things like that. Let's not talk about the stuff that we already know that we're going to have to deal with. So
right, and we're not going to dwell on it too much, obviously, as this is kind of an escape from that type of thing. If you guys do feel like doing that, go ahead and turn on the news. They'll do plenty of that for you. So
yeah, would not recommend the news.
So let's move on to some football.
Yes,
we have a lot
going
on. First, we got the news no one cares about. Okay, now that's complete, let's get to some free agency news.
Yeah, Justin and I were talking before we started, and normally we've kind of got like a theme or a scheme or like a path that we're going to follow for the episode. I figure we're living in a world of chaos, both with the virus and with NFL free agency, because if you haven't been paying attention, it's been insane. So we might as well just do an episode that's completely chaotic. So we're just going to list. We're just going to go down.
Bane.
Yeah, it's all news today. It's all news. We'll analyze some of the movement that's been going on in the league. But yeah, it's going to be fast and furious. A lot to talk about. I've got like almost 12 pages of notes here. So not in any particular order other than what's come out most recently. Just going down the list that way. So nothing's more important than, the first one's not the most important thing. So most recent news that broke is regarding Emmanuel Sanders and his 2-year deal with the Saints.
Yeah.
Justin, former 49er, former Bronco. So I guess I do have some input on him. But, you and I were both pretty much in agreement that Emmanuel Sanders would have to move on.
Yeah, I still held out hope, like a little glimmer of hope inside my heart that he would come back to the 49ers because, he was an integral part of that team last year in developing their young receivers. Mm-hmm. So, I held out that hope, but now that's been extinguished. I think fantasy-wise, this hurts him.
Really?
I do.
I think this helps him big time.
I don't.
I think oh man, with Drew, I'd rather have Drew Brees throwing him the ball.
I do too. I agree. I would rather have Drew Brees. You also have Michael Thomas there who, they're not going to not throw him the ball. So he's hoping to be the number 2 wide receiver there. And I think he will be the number 2, but they're going to target the tight end quite a bit. They like to throw the ball to the running back as well. So I just think it's going to get spread around a lot, and I think this is going to hurt him quite a bit. I mean, I guess at San Francisco, he was in a similar situation there and now he's got a better quarterback throwing the ball to him. So yeah, I could see it being I think it could be a neutral move actually. Now, just think about it.
He finished last season, and he did play part of the season with Denver, of course, and there were some injuries, but he finished last season with 869 yards and 5 touchdowns. If he broke 1,000 yards again, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure I'm willing to bet on him breaking 1,000 yards, but right around 900 and 5 to 6 touchdowns, I feel is totally within his wheelhouse. And you do mention Michael Thomas. It's a good point. Michael Thomas gets a ton of targets, but Michael Thomas is also going to draw so much double coverage. And
Absolutely.
Drew Brees is a smart quarterback. He's going to throw to the open man.
But he's a smart quarterback, and he's smart enough to know that double coverage means nothing with Michael Thomas.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's a loss for him. I think it's probably a gain, not a huge gain, right? He's not going to return to top 12 status where he resided for a long time in his career. But
yeah, I think going back after breaking down the reasons why I didn't like it, I realized that he had all of those exact things going against him in San Francisco, with the exception of Michael Thomas. But this year, if he were still there, I would expect Debo to surpass him as the number one target. So that's why I was thinking back to last year. Last year, he was the number one wide receiver in San Francisco. I wouldn't expect that this year. So now, after putting it that way, I think it's probably going to be about a neutral move.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be a lot more pass attempts in general.
For sure.
For New Orleans, so there's more opportunity. The deal is $16 million, I believe, over 2 years. It's a 2-year deal, $16 million, could be worth $19 million with incentives. So I don't think they really overpaid for him. I think he brings a veteran. It's another veteran in the locker room with Super Bowl experience, both winning and losing one. So it's a great move for New Orleans. I think that they're only gaining.
Yeah. Did he lose 2 Super Bowls? One with San Fran, one with Denver?
He won a Super Bowl with Denver.
Okay.
Oh, he may have lost. Yeah. Was he on the team that lost?
I wasn't sure if he was there that year.
He may have been. Let's move on. More Denver news. I'm having mixed feelings about this one. But Melvin Gordon agrees to a 2-year deal worth $16 million with the Denver Broncos. $13.5 million is guaranteed. It makes him the 4th highest paid running back in the league. That's where I worry just a little bit. But I will say it being a 2-year deal makes me feel a little bit better, right? We're not committed long term to him. It's not like we signed some 4 or 5-year deal with Melvin Gordon. It's 2 years. He's got to come in and kind of prove himself. I like Melvin Gordon. He's healthy. There's nothing to worry about there. He stays in the AFC West. I think he's hungry. He wants to win. I think he wants to prove something to the Chargers. I think he's still fantasy relevant, but this is definitely a shared backfield situation. Phillip Lindsay is not going anywhere. I do think that this hurts Royce Freeman quite a bit. They might even trade him.
Yeah, I think they're going to either trade or drop him. Try and trade him and drop him if not.
Luckily, he's cheap right now. They don't necessarily have to. But I think Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, right now it could be kind of an Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon situation. Melvin Gordon definitely better between the tackles, but both of them great pass catching backs. I think you're getting kind of low end RB2 out of both of them. With Melvin Gordon probably having a higher upside than Phillip Lindsay.
Yes. I was saying I got Melvin Gordon with this at a mid to late second or RB2, so right around that same as you. And like you said, he's a great pass catcher as well, but they're mainly concerned with having him be that 3-down back that's gonna pound the ball just up the middle, with Lindsay coming in for that pass catching work. So
I will say that people that were counting on Phillip Lindsay as a big, an anchor for their team, or not necessarily an anchor, but you know what I mean. They were counting on him to have more fantasy production. It's the goal line work is probably going to Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind it's probably going to Melvin Gordon. So Philip Lindsay's touchdowns are going to take a big hit, even though he wasn't finding the end zone all that much anyway. So, yeah, Melvin Gordon, definitely the goal line back. Probably the starter, as in getting the majority of the work, but it could literally be like a 15 to 12 carry rate, ratio between the two. So, yeah, I'd rather have Gordon between the two, but it's pretty close. Eric Ebron signs a 2-year deal with the Steelers. I mean, Eric Ebron has shown that he can find the end zone. We have to assume that with Ben Roethlisberger back, that the Steelers will be better than what they were last year.
That might have been the understatement of the year.
Yeah. I don't expect the Steelers to be what they were 3 years ago.
No.
But I do expect them to take a pretty big leap forward from where they were last year.
And this kills Vance McDonald's value.
Yeah.
If there was any left, if you had hope of him having a rebound with Big Ben coming back,
Right.
Now it's just a sad, sad dance.
Right. I do expect Pittsburgh to score a fair amount of touchdowns. So, if you really want to wait on tight end and feel like playing a risky game, you could chase touchdowns with Ebron. I don't think I would do it personally.
I don't recommend this game. It's a dangerous game.
It's actually a really deep season for tight ends. There's a lot of viable tight end starters right now to where you don't really need to risk it with Ebron. But
we actually just covered some on our sleepers episode.
Yes, we did. Be prepared if either of those two tight ends goes down. Be ready to grab one. I think that if McDonald goes down, Ebron's value shoots way up. Whereas if Ebron goes down, McDonald's value only goes up, slightly. So, Tom Brady. Finally, we have an answer, and I believe I called it, Justin, on this show that Tom Brady would sign with the Buccaneers.
I know I did. I've been saying Tampa Bay for the last couple weeks.
Yes, Tom Brady signs with Tampa Bay. He takes a team-friendly deal, really. Considering what they got for him, he's not the top paid quarterback in the league, not even close. He's making $50 million over 2 years. There's $9 million in incentives. It is $50 million fully guaranteed. So, he's getting paid. Don't worry about that. But
I was worried.
He only signed a 2-year deal. The deal also includes that he cannot be traded. He cannot be franchised. Which those two imply to me that he plans on continuing to play after those 2 years, assuming his body holds up through these 2 years. And, he's given us no reason to think it won't.
It's kind of like a prove it deal for Tom Brady at his age. You know what I mean? But he has things to protect him in the contract.
I heard some reports that the team offered him more than what he accepted. That he insisted on taking a smaller deal so they would have some cap space still available to bring in what they need. This is what Tom Brady's done his whole career. And, he never had an issue taking a pay cut until New England wasn't able to bring in the tools that he needed to win Super Bowls. That's all this guy cares about. And he can't make that claim any longer. He's got 2 top 10 wide receivers on the same team right now.
Yeah.
He's got a tight end that, we love to joke about OJ Howard, but talent wise, he's definitely top 10.
OJ Howard's one of the most athletic people on that field. It's just sad that he had surgery and had his hands removed. We need to get those reattached pronto.
Yeah. Something that I've heard after Tom Brady, the news that it came out that Tom Brady was going to be going to Tampa Bay, was a lot of other players were showing interest in going to Tampa Bay because they want to play with Tom Brady. It's not just what he brings on the field. It's what he brings in the locker room and, when they're watching film and guys literally just wanting to go play with him. So Tampa Bay is immediately in the playoff discussion for me. I'm not quite going to put him at contender or anything like that, but
No.
I think it was like 4 games that they lost last season that were one possession games.
But let's
And
talk fantasy value here, Perry.
oh God, I'm sorry, I'm getting carried away. Fantasy value. Chris Godwin is now a god. Those quick timing routes, that's Tom Brady's bread and butter.
Yeah, I love Chris Godwin. He was already amazing in that offense. So I think it's a slight increase for him from last year.
Right. Yeah, we do need to keep in mind that they threw the ball more than anybody else in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady's not going to do that.
Yeah,
but I think the quality of throws can be much, much better.
And I think his yards per target for Godwin is coming down, but his yards after catch is going up. So
right. And his receptions might even go up too, just because they're the quality of the throw.
I think it will, not just because the quality of the throw, but because the other wide receiver there, I think his are coming down.
Yes.
Because he's more the deep threat with Mike Evan. I think this hurts him for his value because he's more of a deep threat. And Tom does not have the arm strength that he once had, and he never was one of those like elite like down the field passers.
Yeah, not really. I think
he had a year or two where he did great with Randy Moss. But I mean, Randy Moss.
Yeah.
So
I think he can put it down there if he needs to, but I think a lot of times he just doesn't need to. It's not his style of play. Well, I mean, in the last game that he played, he threw the ball over 50 yards in the air twice.
Yeah. I'm just saying I don't think that you want him to do that consistently. With him being older as a quarterback, because it's going to end up. It takes one throw where it just damages his arm, and he's done.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't put as much stock into the Tom Brady can't throw the ball as far anymore. I just don't.
He doesn't. No, it's not that he can't. It's that he doesn't. He makes smart throws.
Yeah.
Because those are high risk throws generally. He makes smart decisions. He's a very smart player.
Yeah, which is why Chris Godwin is going to be more valuable than Mike Evans.
And O.J. Howard.
And yes, O.J. Howard. This is a big uptick for me for O.J. Howard. Had I had this news going into the sleeper episode, O.J. Howard might have made my sleeper list as tight end. I literally, if that guy can keep his hands on the ball, he could be like top 5. So, there's still some guys that, I'm going to take before him because they're safer, but OJ Howard could have a monster season. He really could. He could have a very good season. So,
and I also think that that this helps the running backs there as well, especially in any sort of PPR, because he does like to dump off to the running back as well, run screenplays. Obviously, you got Bruce Arians there, who does like to push the ball downfield. So I feel like they're going to kind of figure things out together, how they want to run the offense. And they're probably going to meet somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. Last little piece on this that I wanted to talk about. I understand that for Jameis Winston had a wonderful season fantasy-wise, even though he threw 30 interceptions. But for the whole team's fantasy value will increase because Tom Brady's definitely not going to throw double-digit interceptions, right? The whole team is going to have 20 to 25 more possessions than they did last season. Possessions that end in not an interception, which means more goal line carries for the running backs, more goal line throws for the wide receivers and tight ends.
And running backs.
It's good all around. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to watch him play this season. So.
And I mean, right now it's a huge uptick for Ronald Jones, but I am waiting to see if they bring in another running back, which is why I just keep saying running backs, because I've heard talk of them being interested in bringing another running back in.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to go for a free agent or just pick one up in the draft.
Yeah. I'm going to pay attention. You got a couple free agent running backs still out there.
Devontae Freeman.
Frank Gore.
Okay, let's move on to one of the free agent running backs that is no longer out there. And Justin, I'm really excited to hear what you think about this one. Todd Gurley signing with the Falcons. Now, the hype right now is that Todd Gurley is all of a sudden God tier.
Yeah, there is
Why?
that hype that exists. Yes, that is an accurate statement. All of
It's
what
a,
you said is true, uh, but none of it has any merit. Todd Gurley is still the Todd Gurley from the last 2 years we've seen. Well, year and playoff run. His knees haven't magically gotten younger. He still has arthritis in both of them. If they lean on him heavily and he has to run the ball a lot, you're going to see him do great at the beginning of the season and then quickly go downhill and get worse and worse until you get a situation like 2 years ago where he's no longer even on the field and you're like, where is Todd Gurley? And the problem is they don't have depth at running back there. They let Freeman go. So you got Ito Smith, who I did love.
Yeah, wait. Isn't Ito Smith like the next coming of Christ or something? I thought Ito Smith was going to be a number one running back, Justin.
Oh, man. I had high hopes for this man. He really let me down. And once I finally got to see him in a starting role, I quickly realized that this was not happening.
Yeah. I do. I expect them to bring in another rookie running back. I think that honestly, for Todd Gurley, what I'm expecting is goal line work. A lot of goal line work for Todd Gurley. He's not going to be the guy between the 20s. He's going to be the guy from 20 in. He is very good at getting into the end zone. We know that.
But
he's on another.
Does
He's on
need to get those
offense.
fumbles under control. He did have quite a few fumbles last season.
Okay. I mean, I don't really care about that. I don't. I think that they wouldn't have signed him if they weren't going to give him the ball at the goal line, and that's what they want from him. I'm assuming they want him to finish drives. I don't think that they want to lean on him for drives. I think around 700 total yards for Todd Gurley and probably around 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he'll be startable in fantasy for the touchdowns.
I totally think it's going to be a committee. Just
yeah.
They got 3 running backs there as of right now. I agree with you. They're either going to bring someone in the draft or maybe one of these not so hyped up running backs that are still free agents to come in and help ease that load on Todd Gurley.
Yeah. There are a lot of people that are calling him a borderline top 10 running back, and I'm willing to just completely die on the hill that says he will not be a top 10 running back.
I was just talking about last episode that he's one of my busts this year. That has not changed.
You've talked about Todd Gurley being a bust every episode, Justin.
I know, but last episode was our specific bust episode.
No, last episode was our sleeper episode.
Yeah, so it was the episode before that. Yeah, sorry.
Man, get it in gear, bud.
Right?
I think that if Todd Gurley was a top 15 running back, it would be an immensely successful season for him. I'm thinking right around 17, 18, somewhere in there would be a healthy season. He's startable in fantasy. He's fantasy relevant, but he is no longer the Todd Gurley of old.
I think... I'm telling you, realistically, like where I think he's finishing outside the top 24.
I don't. Cam Newton, likely to be released by Carolina. This one's really disappointing for me. I feel like Carolina strung Cam Newton along with the assumption that he was going to be able to play for the Panthers. He's made it very clear that that's what he wanted to do. And then the actual quote from them is, "We are allowing Cam Newton to seek a trade." And they made it sound like he wanted one. He came out immediately afterwards and said, whoa. Don't make it sound like I've been wanting a trade. You guys are forcing me out. He could have been talking with teams for the last few months to try and figure this out.
Right. And they waited till after so many quarterbacks were gone. Like, it's a stupid move on their part, too.
Yeah, it's stupid on their part, but it's also... it's just a shame with this coronavirus. Again, I said we weren't going to talk about it a whole bunch, but it's very difficult for players to go get physicals with teams that they're wanting to be traded to, or that,
I was going to bring this up with Todd Gurley, and then bringing him there was like they probably didn't get to do a team physical with him.
Well, they have to. It's in the rules of every trade. Trades are always based on a physical. So
But they
Yes.
can use doctor. They can outsource that to
Yes.
doctors.
Which is what they did with Tom Brady. He had his physical in New York, actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what happened with Gurley, but that's what I suspect. And
Right.
I know some teams do not like to do that.
Right. Uh, Possible landing places for Cam Newton. It's kind of easy to look at who needs a quarterback. The Patriots, which, you know what, I would be pretty happy for Cam if he went to the Patriots and it really worked out for him and they win a Super Bowl. That would be awesome. Bill Belichick helping Cam Newton win a Super Bowl.
Man, I feel bad for Brady.
I wouldn't.
I know, right?
This guy's
I
got
shouldn't.
6
I
of 'em.
shouldn't.
This guy's got 6 of them.
Damn it.
Maybe Miami. They seem pretty happy with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then they're probably going to grab Tua or something like that in the draft. I feel bad for Cam Newton because he could have been really good on the Bears, and we'll cover who the Bears got in just a minute here, but it'll be interesting to see where he lands. I don't know.
Yeah, we still got Andy Dalton out there too.
I'm sorry.
So is he.
He should be. Real quick, Antonio Brown. I know we don't really we talk about him all the time. There are a lot of reports going out right now that. What's that?
I said way more than we should with how much.
You got really quiet. Are you hiding from your mic?
No. I was saying way more than we should with his fantasy production.
Well, I don't know. He hasn't given us any reason why he wouldn't be productive if he were on the field, but he's never on the field. So there were reports.
Neither has Jim Carrey, but I haven't seen him on the field, so I don't know.
Okay. There were reports. We got a lot to get through here, Justin. Okay. There were reports.
Stop derailing us.
Oh God. There were reports that Tom Brady said Antonio Brown would have to come with him if he went to the Bucks, but it's looking unlikely that they will sign Antonio Brown. That's actually great news for everybody on the Bucks. Antonio Brown goes there.
They don't need him.
Chris Godwin's value goes down. Mike Evans' value goes down. OJ Howard's value goes down. So we don't want him there. I promise you. You do not want Antonio Brown there. No. As fun as it sounds.
There's lots of teams that would benefit from Antonio Brown coming to them. Just talking purely fantasy football and production-wise. If he were to play. But that's not one of them.
No, it's not. Joe Flacco waived by Denver. Bye. No, he failed a physical designation. He is now waived by Denver. Drew Lock is clearly the starter. So it's cool. I think we expected that, but now we know for sure.
Joe Flacco always looks emo, and now he really I could just see him sitting on his couch being depressed.
I feel bad for the guy. It's a hard way to go out, but he's won a Super Bowl. He had a decent career.
He's got nothing to be sad about. He's got millions of dollars.
Now there's a few wide receivers that have something to be sad about in the NFC East. And that's Darius Slay has been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. People like Amari Cooper probably aren't happy about this, though he has other reasons to be happy, which we'll talk about. Darius Slay, one of the best cornerbacks in football. Something to take into consideration when you're drafting these wide receivers.
I honestly think he's the best. Last year, he was the best cornerback because he was one of the few cornerbacks that did that while shadowing the number one wide receiver.
Right.
And did you hear about why? Like part of the reason why he pursued a trade.
I did.
So he was saying that during the season, Matt Patricia would constantly tell him he is not an elite cornerback, and that he was not deserving of a big contract.
Oh.
And so he's like, I can respect him as a coach, but just as a man to tell me something like that, I just lost all respect for him.
Okay. Well, I think when I'm drafting, and I'm looking at wide receivers, and it comes down to a wide receiver that has to match up against Darius Slay twice a year versus a wide receiver that doesn't. Something to consider. The guy can shut people down. So keep that in mind. For somebody like Amari Cooper that tends to disappear every now and then, having a guy like Slay on you is a good reason to disappear.
Yeah, that's what I was telling someone earlier today. I was like, Amari Cooper just got 2 more games this next season with 0 points.
I don't know if 0, but yeah.
No,
I mean,
obviously I'm being
yeah.
sarcastic, but
Yeah.
he has a tendency to disappear. And now with one of the best cornerbacks who shadows the best wide receiver on the other team, those are going to be 2 rough weeks for him.
Indeed, definitely. Nick Foles traded to Chicago for a 4th-round pick. I mean, this basically it isn't a guarantee that Trubisky is out,
No.
but it definitely is going to light a fire. Trubisky will have the starting job to start, or as of right now.
Yeah.
But Nick Foles has shown up. Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP. The guy can play football. It just he can't do it for very long.
Yeah, not
He's
consistent, which is also Trubisky's MO.
Right.
But so my theory with this is I think because they could have went and got Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, or pursued some other players.
Well, they didn't know Cam Newton was available.
Yeah, that's true. But there were rumors of it, like maybe they could have pursued it. But anyway, my point is I think they brought him in specifically because they think this is a player that's in line with the skill level and skill set of Trubisky. And like I think they still believe in Trubisky and they think this is going to push him to go to that next level. Or if he fails, they could do the same thing with Foles. Like whichever one it pushes further. But I think that's kind of their idea is that one of these guys is going to emerge out of this as like, I am now a better quarterback. I don't really tend to follow that philosophy, but some coaches do.
Well, if any of them believe in Trubisky, they're the only ones.
Well,
there is another
Matt
team.
Nagy's career is entangled with Trubisky's at this point.
Well, then he'll die with Trubisky. There is another team involved in this trade. That's the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew. He is now the official starter. I think this is a wonderful move for Jaguars, for Jacksonville. It's a young quarterback that they can build the team around. They got him for a value in the draft. He worked well there with the wide receivers. He worked really well with Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette turned into a pass-catching back last season.
And you got to watch out for the Chark attack.
Yeah, DJ Chark. I think this is good. This is good all around for them. They can really build a team around Minshew. The fans like him. I'm really happy that he's going to get this opportunity. So
I may grow out a mustache at some point and just to show my support for Minshew.
I can't wait. Phillip Rivers is signed with the Colts. I called this one as well. It just seemed like the only real legit landing spot for him. I think Miami was kind of a possibility, but they're going to draft, Tua probably.
Yeah.
So, Phillip Rivers with the Colts. I think this is an upgrade across the board. Jacoby Brissett started the season really well. I mean, he was thrust into that role with the sudden retirement of Andrew Luck. And I think he did fine considering, but I think Phillip Rivers is probably a better talent even at this age than Jacoby Brissett. I don't think we can expect the Phillip Rivers of 5 years ago.
I also don't think we could expect the Phillip Rivers of last year,
right?
Because last year he was under pressure and he almost every play, it was ridiculous how much he was throwing that ball under pressure. And now he's he's behind a much better offensive line, the one that Andrew Luck always should have been behind.
Yeah.
But I think it's a step up. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's also a step up for Nyheim Hines, who should play that Danny Woodhead, Austin Eckler role. Now, I mean, it's 2 different teams, 2 different systems, but a 38-year-old quarterback builds habits and builds tendencies, and he tends to throw to his running backs a lot. So I'm expecting a lot more of that than what we've seen from the Colts in the last 2 years. So, Nyheim Hines moves up my board a little bit.
T.Y. Hilton?
T.Y. Hilton should move up. I just worry about him staying on the field.
Yeah,
man. It's never really been
absolutely.
That's always been his issue, is just staying on the field. So
yeah, but also he has a better quarterback throwing him the ball now compared to what we did see of him last year.
Yes, for sure. I think that if he stays on the field, he could be right around where Keenan Allen's been, right? Keenan Allen,
low end, wide receiver 1, mid to low end.
Yeah, for sure. Jordan Howard, agrees to 2 years with the Dolphins. I think this is great for Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard showed that he clearly can still play. He played 10 games last season. He had 119 carries for 526 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he was splitting time big time with Sanders. What's his first name?
Miles.
Thanks, bud. With Miles Sanders. This should pretty much be his backfield in Miami for the most part. I don't know. 1,000 yards would be quite a bit for him, but he's going to find the end zone a lot.
So my concern with this team is kind of just the way they're structured, because you have Fitz Magic down there who loves his long balls, right? He loves throwing the ball down the field, which we love as fantasy owners. Like, who doesn't love that? It's exciting to watch. It's fun, but they're not a big, like, he's never been big on like you can't really do a clock management type team where you're running the ball, short passes, keep that going, solid defense, which is great for a running back. He will get more end zone carries, or red zone carries to find the end zone more. It's going to be the in between those points I worry about. They did make a lot of moves on the defensive side, which I loved. So I think they're a much improved team. I actually think they may be the best improved team in the NFL. And I'm excited to see this. And then with bringing Tua in, eventually he'll take over, and I think that'll be even better for him. But we'll see when that happens, if it's this season, if it's next. But I love this, though, for Jordan Howard.
Yeah, even if Tua doesn't start any games this season, which Justin, you and I have debated on that a little bit. But I think if Fitzpatrick played the entire season, this is still an upgrade for Jordan Howard from last season. Now, if Tua does come in, I think this is a really big upgrade for Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's his backfield to own. I know Jordan Howard gets a lot of fantasy flack for not being super good. Are you telling me
you don't think Kalen Ballage is going to take this job?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Kalen Ballage is now
garbage.
Yeah. Thank you. Very well put. I like Jordan Howard. I do. I like him this season. If you want to flex Jordan Howard, I think you could be looking pretty good if you're flexing Jordan Howard this year. This one, not huge news. I just found it. It's a weird story. Jason Witten has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Raiders. I don't know why.
I was just talking about this today. Why? Yeah, why?
Why?
I know why. I mean, Witten wants a paycheck. Cool. But why for the Raiders?
He got $4.75 million. He could easily get that in the booth.
Yeah, that's true, especially with the deals going around right now.
And then you're right, to the Raiders.
Yeah,
the Raiders aren't going to win a Super Bowl.
And they have Waller.
I know, and this hurts Waller, actually.
Yeah, which it's great because it's not great. It sucks for Waller, but I was just last week I was telling someone that I expected Waller to take a decrease, and they're like, no way, Waller's like my tight end 2 this year. I'm like, you're crazy. But now they're definitely crazy.
Yeah. The amount of targets that Waller got towards the end of the season just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, and that was my point, was he was going to see less targets, and now he's going to see a lot less targets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Jason Witten to be fantasy relevant, really. Maybe a week to a stream, a week-to-week stream if you had to. He had 529 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. I mean, it's pretty mediocre. The guy's, he's old, but it hurts Waller. It doesn't make any sense for Jason Witten. He's not winning a Super Bowl with the Raiders next season. It's a weird move. I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater signs with the Panthers, right? So this news came out just before the Cam Newton, hey, go find a trade news. So Teddy Bridgewater lands in Carolina. Teddy Bridgewater is a very accurate quarterback. I don't think this really hurts the receivers at all in Carolina. Maybe even a slight upgrade. Teddy Bridgewater was very good filling in for Drew Brees last season in New Orleans. It's kind of just like it's almost like a lateral move for me, except Bridgewater is able to stay healthy as long as he doesn't get speared in the head, which is what really put him down when he was a Viking.
I mean, I've heard a couple different opinions on this with the wide receivers. Personally, I think for DJ Moore, it's about a lateral move. But I think it does hurt Curtis Samuel because he's more of their speedy wide receiver. And I don't see, like, when we saw what we saw Bridgewater this last year, it was more of a short passer, game manager type of role. And so I'm not saying he can't throw the ball down the field, but it's similar to Tom Brady, where his instinct is to throw it to the short, safe pass, which it's a smart play, keeps you healthy in the NFL. I mean, Cam Newton probably would still be their quarterback if he is more that type. But I think it will hurt Samuel's. It's not a huge loss, but he's going to. I think he takes a slight impact.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that this is actually an upgrade for Christian McCaffrey, if that's possible. And anyway,
from last year for sure.
From last year, definitely. And even from the year before, because Cam Newton's not going to be stealing those goal line carries.
That's true.
So, amazingly, Christian McCaffrey just
honestly, I don't. God, I don't. That's not possible, Perry. Take it back.
No, I refuse.
I don't know that if Cam Newton were even coming back, that it would hurt him on the goal line carries, just because it seemed like the first year they were worried that he couldn't run up the middle. And then they found out he could, and they're like, oh my God.
They found out he can run wherever he wants.
Yeah, he can run, walk, skip, wherever he wants, and no one touches him.
Yeah. The new offensive coordinator in Carolina is Joe Brady, and they did work together in New Orleans. So there is that connection, which is great. They already know each other and should work well together. Drew Brees, this is kind of a quick thing we can jump over, but Drew Brees did sign with the Saints, 2 years, $50 million. We expected this to happen. There's no surprises here. The Saints continue to march on, right? Amari Cooper signs a 5-year, $100 million deal with Dallas.
Man, I was kind of surprised with this, that they're able to bring back all three of these key elements of their team. I did hear reports that he turned down larger offers from Washington.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So I think that's why this was able to happen, because he turned down those larger offers, which I did not expect him to do. I thought he was going to go for the biggest bag, which most players do. So, I respect him more for this, because it shows that he has faith in this team and wants to win here. So I respect him for that. I don't agree with how Dallas went about this, but that's a completely different story. Fantasy-wise, like we said, Slay's there. That's going to hurt his value for 2 weeks. But, I mean, obviously you're going to get a similar value as you did last year, as all their key elements came back. They lost some key defensive elements and bringing back all these elements. So I do think they're going to need to throw the ball more than they did last year.
Yeah, he finished last season with 1,189 yards. I think he could close in right around that same, 1,200-yard mark and 8 touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw double-digit touchdowns from Amari Cooper this season. I'm pretty high on Amari. I know that he has to play Darius Slay twice, and that hurts. But
yeah. I did have him on
excited.
my bust radar for that episode, as we didn't know who was throwing him the ball at that time. We didn't know where he was going to be playing. I will be removing him from that list now.
Yeah. Dak Prescott did sign franchise tag, or he's franchise tagged, which, we could talk about that all day. I don't know if I agree with the move completely. It just means that they're not willing to commit to him, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but we can talk about that.
They just didn't have the money to commit to him, because they didn't have the option to franchise tag Amari Cooper. So, yeah, I mean, I think they just put themselves in a bad situation by paying Zeke, and they dealt with it the only way they could.
Yeah. Here's the probably the biggest news, if you count the Tom Brady stuff out. DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Arizona Cardinals for David Johnson. And I believe that there was a pick in that too. as well as a 4th-round pick. So David Johnson and a 4th-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. This is highway robbery. That, like, somebody better call the cops.
And a 2nd-round pick was involved.
Yes, that is true. David Johnson and a 2nd for Hopkins and a 4th, I believe. Or...
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and Houston is picking up all of David Johnson's salary. So the big issue with David Johnson in Arizona was a huge salary that they had to deal with, whereas cutting him would actually be more expensive than just keeping him and paying him.
As a 49er fan, this was the most upsetting thing for me during this free agency. Like, you just sent one of the, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, the second best wide receiver to one of our divisional rivals, and took their player who they had signed a horrible contract and his contract.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is one of the worst trades I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's incredibly bad. Like, on a scale 1 to 10, this is at least an 18.
Yeah, for sure. For DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know if this is an upgrade for him. He's clearly talented. He's clearly been able to be successful with bad quarterbacks. Now, Kyler Murray is not a bad quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just not quite ready to say that he's better than Deshaun Watson.
No.
He might have a better fantasy season this season than Deshaun Watson, but he's got better weapons now. He's also able to score a lot on the ground.
I think this is a slight decrease to Hopkins. Very slight. Very slight.
I would say that as well.
And a huge increase for Kyler Murray.
Yes.
I had Kyler Murray at my 5 spot with a ceiling of QB1. And now I have him at my 4 spot. Now him and Deshaun Watson just flip-flopped. And now he has a ceiling of QB1.
Yes, he does. With all of this, it's important to note that Kenyon Drake, was it Kenyon Drake?
Yep.
Yes. He got paid by the Cardinals. So Kenyon Drake will stay a Cardinal. This is a huge upgrade for Kenyon Drake. Getting David Johnson out of there, getting his touches out of there. Kenyon Drake should be very, very good this season.
And then it's just him and friend of the show, Chase Edmonds.
Yes, friend of the show. This is great for the Cardinals all around. Dynamite trade for them. Can't believe they pulled it off. Another trade that happened, this one kind of in the opposite direction on what the team had to give up. Stephon Diggs traded to Buffalo in exchange for, let's see, a 1st, a 5th, a 6th, and a 2021 4th.
And I love how you paired this one next to the DeAndre Hopkins trade to just show the absurdity of it.
Yes. Stephon Diggs, very good receiver. There's no doubt in my mind, one of the best route runners in the league. Very, very talented. Is he worth
probably
4 picks?
Probably a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. Is he worth 4 picks, including a 1st-round pick this season? I don't know. Buffalo clearly thinks that they have a team that can go win a Super Bowl. They made the playoffs. They did well in the playoffs. I don't know if he puts him over the edge or not. I think he's an upgrade over John Brown.
So, he instantly becomes their wide receiver 1, but this also increases John Brown's value, in my opinion, because he will draw that number 1 coverage to free John Brown up against those lesser DBs, which is where he should be. He excels in that position. But this is one of the teams that runs the most in the NFL. So that's definitely a downgrade for Stephon Diggs, in my opinion here. But their quarterback has a huge arm too. So he can throw the ball down the field and get it to him. But I think he's just going to become even more of a boom or bust player than he already was.
I don't know. Personally, I think I see this as a lateral move for Stephon Diggs. I'm not going to move him up or down really all that much. Maybe slightly down, but it's more of a lateral move.
He's coming down on my chart, but most importantly to me, Cooper Kupp is going up my chart.
Cooper Kupp? I mean, Adam Thielen?
Oh, yes, I am sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong white wide receiver. Uh, Adam Thielen is going up my list.
I think so. I mean, when you had two essentially number one receivers, one of them's drawing double coverage. Now, definitely Thielen's getting double covered every time. Can he manage it?
I think
Probably.
he can. Yeah.
Probably. I don't know if he's shooting up my list, but he'll get more targets, more opportunity. Opportunity is king. So he will move up my list a little bit. Josh Allen also moves up my list a little bit. I like this for Josh Allen a lot. Interesting that this happened. They gave up a lot for him. They got to go win a Super Bowl now. So the Raiders, they picked up Jason Witten, but they also picked up Marcus Mariota. I don't think Marcus Mariota is going to be starting for the team anytime soon. Derek Carr still has that job, but it does show that Derek Carr's job is in total jeopardy. He has to perform well this season. Would you be surprised if Derek Carr got traded mid-season?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think that could happen.
I mean, they've talked about moving on from him a couple times. There's been rumors of this. And, I mean, he in no way has earned that spot and made it like, oh, yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, I think if a quarterback goes down anywhere, right, any team loses a quarterback, we could see a Derek Carr gets traded to so-and-so almost instantly.
For sure.
Yeah. Jimmy Graham. This is another like a mind-blowing signing here. Jimmy Graham signs 2 years, $16 million with the Bears. So the Bears go and get Nick Foles and Jimmy Graham, and all of a sudden they're better off?
No,
I agree. This is a weird one. Veteran tight end, clearly one of the best tight ends to play in the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's not happening anymore. Unfortunately, when his knee exploded, so did his career. We both like Jimmy Graham. We're both fans of Jimmy Graham, but
of his career, just not fantasy wise for the last couple of years. It's gone. It's gone. You got to let it go.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out, unfortunately. Hey, I hope I'm wrong though. I hope we're wrong. I hope he has an amazing season. I'm just not willing to bet on it.
And we got Nick Foles or Trubisky throwing him the ball. He just came from Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball.
Yeah. Last piece. Oh boy, what a strange trip it's been. You know what? I'm gonna throw a bonus one in there. We'll start with this one, then I'll do the bonus one. Austin Hooper signs with the Browns, become the league's highest paid tight end. Was he worth the money?
No, not for the Browns.
Yeah, 4 years, $44 million.
Like we've talked about the Browns.
Another mouth to feed.
Yeah, the Browns brought in all these offensive weapons. You look at their lineup for the last 2 years, and it's like, oh my God, they just added this offensive weapon and this offense. Oh, look at them. But they do not feed or they do not take care of that offensive line, which they need to. And their quarterback position is hurting from it. I'm not saying he's a horrible quarterback, but he is not doing good behind that offensive line. I don't know what he could be with a great offensive line. We saw a glimpse of it towards the end of his rookie year where he looked great. And I would love to see them invest heavily into the offensive line to get back to there. They did pick up an offensive lineman as well, so that was awesome. But they did not need him. They have a tight end.
Yeah. I do expect Baker Mayfield to do better this season than he did last season, just because last season that was really bad.
Yeah.
But as for all the fantasy relevant players on that team, I with David Njoku there and now Austin Hooper, I think Austin Hooper is still the guy you'd rather have, but you're not going to get Austin Hooper of 2018 or 2019. And Odell Beckham Jr. should have a slightly better season, but Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to be the guy that he was in New York, not with all these mouths to feed there. I think the most consistent and safest guy here is Jarvis Landry still.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Jarvis Landry's got a time-tested way of playing this game.
I'm sure, I don't know if you put this in the notes just because we didn't talk about it beforehand, but also related news with the Browns brought in, or they gave a second round tender.
That was my bonus.
Okay, to Kareem Hunt. How do you feel about this?
You son of a duck. That was my bonus.
I'm sorry. I didn't know what your bonus was.
Well, you should have just claimed it, bud. Okay. Yeah. So Kareem Hunt
Shut
receives
the
a second
front
round
door.
tender, which means if any team wants to go sign him, they have to give up a second round pick to the Browns,
So
which
he's a
means
Brown.
no team is going to go sign Kareem Hunt. I mean, last season I was really high on Nick Chubb, just because I owned Nick Chubb in our main league, but I also just believed in him. And
Yeah, you were high on him before you owned him, even.
right. I still believe in Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's very good. I still think he's the lead back on this team, but his numbers are going to go down. I think he almost led the league in rushing last season. I don't think he's going to come close to that this season. Kareem Hunt,
I
clearly,
see him going right now in drafts currently at like around the 6th, 7th pick. That's too high. Don't do that.
I agree. That is too high. Kareem Hunt will be fantasy relevant. Kareem Hunt will probably start in a lot of leagues. If either one of these guys goes down, though, the other one is immediately an RB1.
Yeah,
immediately.
Kareem Hunt he just replaced Alexander Madison as the most valuable handcuff in the NFL.
And I don't even know if I'd call him a handcuff, because he has value.
Standalone value.
Yeah. So, but yes, if Kareem Hunt goes down, Nick Chubb's amazing again. If Nick Chubb goes down, Kareem Hunt is amazing again. So, yeah. Okay. That was a lot.
Yeah, we made it. We did it.
I'm tired. I'm exhausted. That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind of a free agency.
Yes, and it's not even done.
That's just the start. We've had 4 days?
Yeah. Guys, please support the channel. Subscribe, comment, like. Please go to the link down below to check out our merch. Please buy it.
They got some sweet shirts on there.
Yeah.
Tanks. We got tanks. Summer's coming up. Get you a sweet tank. Yeah, Perry. I know Perry loves these tanks. So.
Oh, I do. I sleep in one every night. And then the sun comes out. I wear them all the time in the summer.
Yeah, it's getting nice out too. We're about to. Tank season is about to be full on here.
I know you're supposed to stay in your homes, but you can still go into your yards. Okay, the air is safe outside.
And
you can do that.
If you're playing a game like what's it called, cornhole, you're still, got that distance between you.
I was gonna guess Jeopardy.
Okay, or Jeopardy. You're gonna have to scoot those podiums further apart.
Flex.
But you could be outside in your yard playing some cornhole.
Or Jeopardy.
Yeah, or Jeopardy. Opposite sides of the lawn, so you're not too close to each other. Still throwing those beanbags into that hole,
Yeah.
All right.
Or Jeopardy.
Or Jeopardy. What is clock management?
The best.